More from the NHL. The St. Louis Blues have tendered offer sheets to Oilers defenseman Philip Broberg and forward Dylan Holloway. Broberg's offer is a 2-year contract worth just over $4.58 million per season, the maximum offer that would require a second-round pick in compensation. While Holloway's offer is a 2-year contract worth just over $2.29 million per season, which would require a third-round pick as compensation. The Oilers have 7 days to decide whether or not to match. We're joined now by our Oilers reporter, Ryan Rishaug. And Ryan, Stan Bowman has been on the job for only a few weeks. Do you have a sense of how he and the Oilers may react here?
Yeah, Sarah, it's interesting. Sometimes when we see these offer sheets, you'll see the team right away come out and say, we're matching. We're keeping our players, right? They're almost belligerent about it to make the point that you're not hurting us. I don't see the Edmonton Oilers doing that in this case. They have 7 days to make a decision. I think they're going to use a lot of that time. I think that to a degree they were caught off guard here. The fact that it's both players to one team, both offer sheets happening at the same time, probably caught them a little bit off guard. They've got some figuring to do here, so I don't think they're going to plant any flag here in the next day or two. They're going to take the time that the CBA allows them.
Yeah, take some time and figure out some potential scenarios or solutions. Is there a way for Edmonton to keep both players?
Yes, but it's not comfortable. As I reported today, the most likely path for Evander Kane here is that he's headed towards surgery, and it'll be months before he would be available to the Oilers. So they could start the season with him on LTIR, which gives him just over $5 million in cap space. That accounts for a portion of the Holloway and Broberg new contracts. They're left with about $2.1 million, give or take, that they're going to have to try and maneuver around to try and create the space that they need. There's a few ways to do it. You start the season shorthanded, and you take 2 or 3 players and start them in the American Hockey League. Basically, they'd be 11-6. That's not an ideal pathway. You don't want to start shorthanded like that. I think that's the less likely option. The other is a trade. The Oilers have some depth on defense. They have the ability to make some moves. Cody Ceci, Brett Kulak. I could see the deal potentially involving one of those two. Kulak might make more sense just given the fact that he shoots left. And Philip Broberg is ready to be, certainly a third-pairing left-shot defenseman on this team. I think a trade is the most likely scenario. I think they're going to explore it. But yes, there is a pathway to keeping both guys.
Okay, and you also got to wonder if the Oilers were to lose one or both of these players, how much is that going to hurt this current group, Ryan?
Yeah, it's a great question. It hurts. I mean, to put it into perspective, Dylan Holloway was penciled in for me as a third-line left winger on this team who had the opportunity to challenge for top 6 minutes up front. Philip Broberg would have been penciled in as a third-pairing defenseman who had the opportunity to challenge for second-pairing minutes. They're the top 2 young players in the organization. Both were ready to push for more time and a bigger bite at a reasonable salary. And that is what really hurts them, losing good players who are going to be at reasonable dollar figures this year. So I think, and no disrespect to Dylan Holloway, he was excellent in the playoffs. I think Philip Broberg probably would be the bigger loss of the two. To me, this player stepped in on the biggest stage in the Stanley Cup final and showed he is ready. So it would be a loss if either one of these two players were gone. But Sarah, I do have to say, the Oilers put themselves in this situation in a lot of ways. I don't think either of these players have been handled particularly well over the past couple of seasons under Ken Holland and Jay Woodcroft. I think with good young players, they either need to understand why they're not in the NHL and have a very clear development plan in place where they're getting lots of minutes, or they need to be in the NHL with a very clear development plan. And I think at times these two players were left hanging and floating with an unclear plan. And I think that caused problems, and the Oilers are where they are right now in a real tough cap crunch.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the Oilers do over the next few days. But prior to Tuesday, only 10 offer sheets had ever been signed in the salary cap era. Only 2 of those were not matched. So we'll see. Ryan, thanks for this. And now here's a closer look at what Broberg and Holloway did in the playoffs for the Oilers. So first off, Broberg had 2 assists in 12 games with the club during the regular season, but then he played in all 7 games of the Stanley Cup final, recording 3 points and finished tied for 7th in plus-minus. While Holloway split time between the Oilers and the Bakersfield Condors of the AHL. but he skated in all 25 postseason games for Edmonton.